Hello, everybody. Today, in this video, I'd like to share my episode about apology I made to my friend for my being arrogant. This story going back to my childhood. One friend from my childhood, he went to same middle school, and then we lived in same area actually, very near by walk 3 minutes away in the Korean traditional marketplace. We share quite similar nature of ourselves, and but not exactly same. But the family background was pretty opposite. His mom that time runs small tavern in our area, in small town traditional market, right? And then my family is very religious, and actually my mom quite hate that kind of job. So basically, in terms of the religious and family background, family upbringing things, we were not quite good match. But I mean, ourselves didn't really care about all that, different upbringing and family background things, right? So anyway, we became very good friend. We all the time hang out together, like spend much of time, playing all the naughty things or something, we did together, very adventurous, small childish things, right, at that time. And when we graduate from our middle school, actually he just didn't go for high school education anymore because his family also pretty poor, not very good financial state, same as mine. But anyway, he was the only one friend who didn't move forward for high school education things among my friends at that time. And then he took a job in a small factory around in Seoul. Since then, he just walked away from the normal educational track, right? And then since so we didn't go to high school together, but we still kept quite good friendship all the time. And anyway, he in a way seems that much more mature than us naturally because I mean he was taking care of himself by his own work, and so comparably he was very mature than me and other peers that time. And then after the high school also, myself forward to get college education, to get college entrance things, right? And then I failed, and I also took a job for some completely club things, waitering, nightclub that thing. So maybe that time I believe my attitude about life is pretty different from my friends. He took for the job, small factory, and move forward for some technician way, right? And myself, even though it was not very long period, but just for 1 year, around 1 year, being a waiter in a nightclub. So basically, the we took very different paths to our future life, right? And then my case, 1 year waitering job, I just quit and I just pursue my original the academic pursuit. And then I also been through the financial restraint to move forward my further study to go to university, right? And then my friend, he was all the time very supportive to my decision, to my plan, and then wholeheartedly, I mean, he was very supportive to me. And then, like that time, a lot of my old-time friend was pretty skeptical about my plan to pursue for the study, right, for the university exam, that things, right? Because I was not that smart, right? But anyway, he was the only very few, on all very few, to be very supportive about my plan, and then also he trying to help me to, support a little bit of like financial aid also to buy some textbook for the entrance exam, all that kind of things, right? I appreciate that. I have all the time had a very good feeling about him without any calculation things, what he's doing or what is like, life is. I don't really care. He doesn't also very care about my other conditions, right? Without any calculation, we supported each other wholeheartedly, very, very innocent mind, right? And then, very fortunately, somehow I made it through to the one of the acronym university in Korea. Mm, we both living in a very different like living environment, right? I was still in college in Seoul, and he moved his professional pursuit into a into some other like city. So physically, we didn't have time to see each other very often, and occasionally we saw each other in some during some national holiday period, right, in our hometown, something like that. And then later, I moved to China, and then I really focus on my whole energy and spirit, everything for my own professional chase, right? For my job and for my business. And then hardly think about all the things in Korea that time. And then the time passed, and then it almost became like another 20 years, right? So speaking, I forgot everything about my past, my childhood things, everything. I hardly think about it in China. And then it's been already like 20 years, right? So when I came back to Korea 10 years ago, I didn't have any feeling about my childhood friend or this kind of deep feeling like that, right? Almost faded away, very honestly. And then later, what I heard about my friend, he moved to Mexico for his own for his job with some company, right? As a like technician job. And then he married there with the Mexican girl and have a child, son. And there was the news about him later from my friend, some of my friend. One day, I realized my friend just linked me through some messenger, had a very nice talk. all the things we cherished each other in our childhood, and mainly during the childhood things, right? And then we really were happy about to bring it back and tweet over again all the funny things we did together. And like we were very happy, we share that good memory each other, right? At that time, I to him very I open myself everything about myself, very honest way, without hiding or without disguising anything to him, completely open to him because I like him. I always take him as my best friend. And he also open to me about his life history, in Korea, later on how he moved to Mexico, how he married a Mexican girl and have a boy now, something like that. All this kind of it was very interesting and then very happy moment for both of us. And then one day he called me that he would come to visit Korea with his family this time. And several months later, he visited my place with his family and without any notice. And I was very surprised, but very happy. I'm really glad to happy see him and with his family. And then because his schedule was so tight, so squeeze his time to visit me, and then we had simple dinner together here, and then chat and like we spent a very nice moment that night. And then once we returned to Mexico, right, we still kept communicating each other through messenger. Then sometime later I see a down feeling. His emotion was seems his spirit sounds kind of bit down. I don't know what happened to him, and he was not completely open everything to me that time. It's not because of me. It was something off feeling that time. He was really want to talk to me, and I feel he enjoy talking with me very much. Seems that he found some kind of result, some happiness or peace through talking with me. That was my feeling. And then one day he mentioned very remote memory, some episode between us. I don't even remember. And he said one episode, one day we had a gathering in our hometown. We had a very heavy drinking together and some drunken, all of us. And then we took a taxi, and then he was like he didn't feel comfortable and like about to throw up in the taxi. And at that time he said, "You gave me your bag to throw up." Jacob, why did you give your bag to me to throw up that times? And then I said, what are you talking about? I can't even remember if that thing was really happened. Said, it happened. You gave me your bag to throw up for me. He said, it really happened. You gave your bag for me to throw up on your back in the taxi. And then was kind of, I was very kind of I didn't know what to say at the time. Like, and then I was thinking about it carefully, and then I remember it really happened. I gave my bag for them to throw up in the taxi. That was true. It really happened. And then I said, I don't know, I just did it because I thought maybe it will save you to pay the cleaning money for the tax drivers, tax owners. I mean, the money will be big. And then, anyway, we are not rich enough to compensate for the money, right? So I did it. Anyway, I didn't really care like about my clothes that time. I can simply throw it away. So I did. And then he was laughing, and then I was laughing too. And then he said, Jacob, you, that time you really had a good nature. I really liked your nature and your persistence, your like humble attitude to the friends. He mentioned all good thing about my nature that time. And then I was very like, little bit awkward. But anyway, I also had a good feeling. And then later, all of a sudden, he mentioned another episode to me. Jacob, do you remember you cut my words off among the friends gathering at certain time? Something like cut off your crap, cut off his word, not for him to proceed anymore, like, saying something like that, very bluntly. That was his saying about one occasion, in our friends gathering. When I heard his saying that, I was kind of bewildered. I couldn't remember if that thing really happened, but automatically I just responded, my friend, I'm really sorry for you. I'd like to make apology for my behavior like that. Very honestly, I can't remember the incident right now, but thinking about my attitude at that age, I must have been very arrogant to you, even. Maybe I was ignoring my friends or look down in my heart. So I admit at the time period, I must hurt your feeling in somehow without knowing. And so know my situation here in Korea, doing all the things alone, being alone, doing all the crap work here, is the punishment, is the karma I brought up, I invited to myself because of that arrogance. I'm in self-building prison. I locked myself in the prison I built myself. So forgive me about my arrogance, about my mistake I made at that age with my arrogance. I really apologize that arrogance to you. So please forgive me. That was my automatic, very instant apology to him without making any kind of excuse. Because that time my sentiment was exactly like that. I mean, it was really from my deep heart without disguising my feeling, without making any excuse. I completely admit the thing I must have made in a very arrogant way. to my good friend. Upon hearing my apology, right, I sense that he somehow believed and somehow very comforted what he was saying to me. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, like I don't know why. That time I didn't understand his sentiment. Why he all of a sudden brought another episode conflicting the former episode, right? Which he stated so many good things about my nature, and then later, very conflicting episode, right? Which I feel he very believed, kind of he was relieved from his some sort of anger or some sort of frustration or that kind of things, right? And then he became kind of light-hearted. His spirits come back to be very natural or happy mode, pleasant mode. And then we shall several talk more and then finish the call. And later he left me some sort of strange message about his life. And then he left some strange message about his life. And then it disappeared. It completely disappeared. Like, I can found I can't find his trace anymore. All the communication with me, with others, everything completely cut off and disappeared. Once he cut off all the communication with me and outside world, I was trying to get him hold of it very hard, but he didn't. He haven't left any trace about himself. Completely disappeared. And then it's been already 2 years. And then this is what I'm thinking about the things between us, especially the talk. He mentioned 2 episodes about me. I think at that time he was, very some desperate stage. Maybe he would wanna make very important move for his life. And then he was thinking about me as his best friend. And then he want to cherish the memory with me to the last phase of his life, maybe. I don't know for sure. And then he also want to resolve, he also want to dissolve his anger from my some action to him when I was young to hurt him. And something left very seriously, very deeply in his deep heart. Maybe the some uncomforting feeling, maybe, or humiliation or frustration, whatever it was. And then he brought it up to me to not to criticize me or not to speak bad thing about me. Maybe he want to dissolve the anger by the person who create the feeling to him at the first place, right? And I just took it as very truthful mind without disguising or without making any kind of excuse, right? Just directly answer to his feeling, very honest, truthful mind, making truthful apology, right? Maybe that is the thing he won that time. That's why he, out of nowhere, he brought two conflicting episodes about me as a friend at that time. I think his pain was lack of education background. The time he mentioned was the time around right after I made it through the one of the acronym university in Korea. And then I believe at that time I was very arrogant, possibly very arrogant period. And then I might left some kind of very sharp word or some word left him deep cut, deep pain in his heart, inflicting on his dignity, or it might cause some humiliation without knowing myself. And then at his very crucial stage of some sort of important decision for himself, for the next chapter of his life, maybe he wants to, he wanted to dissolve all the pain rooted in his deep heart by the person who left. So he brought up the old memory between us. And then once I made very clear, sincere apology to him, he was very appreciative for my apology. And he really, like, I could feel that time he was very relieved and he was very appreciative. And then now I'm thinking that I'll be very remorseful, I'll be regretful, very much regretful if I didn't apologize him properly at that time. What I'm thinking right now, turning this age, about making apology, wouldn't like to leave any remorse behind me when I get too old to be sound-minded. I won't be hesitating making apologies for the people who I hurt their dignity or who I left some cut to their heart without knowing, even without intention. I wouldn't be hesitating make sincere apologies to the people who I loved, who I cherished. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.